From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, this is From the South, and I'm Sonia Gray. The Vice President of Venezuela's National Electoral Council, Sandra Oblitas, has given an update on the electoral schedule ahead of the April 22nd presidential election. The Electoral Authority representative announced that there will be more than 15 audits carried out on the Venezuelan voting system. From the 24th to the 26th of February, candidate nominations can be made online. And then on the 26th and the 27th of February, those nominations will be ratified by the CNE. There will be 531 centers where voters can register, re-register, or change their polling station. Now, a number of countries, including the United States and Colombia, have said they will not recognize Venezuela's presidential election on April 22nd. In Venezuela, however, people are demanding that their decision to go to the polls be respected. Our correspondent in Caracas, Laura Prada, has more.
Hi, nice to greet you from Caracas. Indeed, here everything is going back to normal, and the people of Venezuela is waiting for the holding of the presidential elections the 22nd of April. Both the government and the people of Venezuela are calling for these elections to be held in peace. Also, that everything is going as planned. The electoral campaign will start the 2nd of April till the 19th, and already is open the registration facilities for the Venezuelans living abroad. This is the 23rd process, the electoral process taking place here in Venezuela in 19 years of revolution. This is another demonstration of the democratic vocation of the people of Venezuela to solve differences with votes. This is all I have for now, but we'll get back soon.
Venezuelan Foreign Minister Jorge Arreaza has been visiting Dominica, where he met with Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. Arreaza is on the second leg of what is being called a dignity tour of Latin America and the Caribbean, working to strengthen friendship and bilateral cooperation. Venezuela has a particularly strong bond with Dominica and its Prime Minister, having provided immediate support after the island was destroyed by Hurricane Maria. Skerrit says he believes Venezuela will hold a free and fair election.
And I know that early elections have been held. The very same people who are calling for early elections are saying that elections are too soon. We have to know what we want. And when it is given to us, we have to be prepared to accept it. And our position is, once the elections are called in accordance with the Constitution of Venezuela, which we understand it to be the case, I do not see why any other country or institution would want to interfere in the domestic politics of a sovereign country.
Prime Minister Skerrit also said Dominica will launch a protest against Peru, which withdrew its invitation to President Nicolas Maduro to attend the Summit of the Americas in April.
Dominica doesn't believe that Peru has the authority to disinvite the president of a member state of the OAS. It is the OAS that is convening the meeting. Peru is just a host country, and it is, I believe, disrespectful to the people of Venezuela for that decision to be taken by Peru. And we will certainly be protesting that decision by Peru, and to ensure that the President of Venezuela has the full authority and right to attend this meeting.
Jorge Arreaza said he and Skerrit also discussed attacks against Venezuela and its allies by certain countries.
Estuvimos hablando con el primer ministro Roosevelt Skerrit.
I have met with Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, who is one of the leaders of the Bolivarian Alliance for the People of the America, ALBA. We were looking strategically at the geopolitical situation of the continent, how imperialism has been acting. Venezuela is the center of the attacks, but not only Venezuela, also other countries of the ALBA. Racist policies against the migrants' dignity, the construction of walls. It's been a great importance to meet with Skerrit to share the consequences of the blockade and share ideas.
De construcción de muros, de extorsión económica, cambios de votos.
We have more from our correspondent, Esther Yanes, who's traveling with Jorge Ariasa.
We're here in Dominica, where Minister Jorge Ariasa has come to attend a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. This is part of the minister's diplomatic tour, which will take him to different countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. Dominica is the 7th country he's visited so far. On Thursday, he heads to El Salvador, and Friday he will visit the Dominican Republic. The following week, he will head to Africa and Europe as part of the effort to strengthen bilateral ties between a number of foreign nations and Venezuela. The importance of this diplomatic tour stems from the juncture at which Venezuela now finds itself. Regarding the upcoming presidential elections, Minister Ariasa and Prime Minister Skerrit have declared that no sanctions or meddling from foreign powers, such as the Lima Group, will change the course the country is on. Ariasa has also lamented the Venezuelan opposition's unwillingness to sign a peace and coexistence accord that the government had readied. And he lamented how talks in the Dominican Republic fell apart due to this. Despite the collapse of the dialogue, he declared that Venezuela will hold the presidential elections because it's the will of the people. He also recalled how the opposition themselves had previously demanded elections, along with international organisations, who now reject the government's decision. Ariasa has reaffirmed his solidarity with the Dominican people following last year's disastrous hurricane season and the brotherly ties that bind both nations.
Jacob Zuma has announced that he is stepping down as president of South Africa with immediate effect. The ruling African National Congress was about to bring a motion of no confidence against him. Zuma addressed the nation, saying he disagreed with the way the ANC had treated him.
I have therefore come to the decision to resign as President of the Republic with immediate effect.
Colombia's former guerrilla group, now a political party, the FARC, has organized a Truth and Reconciliation event. FARC members talked to the relatives of the victims of an attack on the Nugal Social Club in Bogota 15 years ago. The former combatants took responsibility for the attack, which left 36 people dead and 200 injured back in 2003. They also categorized the attack as unjustified. The FARC leaders said this act contributed to the Truth and Reconciliation process for peace in the country.
Let's remember those who perished in this unjustifiable act. Workers, professionals, parents and children of every country, and didn't deserve to die.
Ecuador's President Lenin Moreno is in Colombia and will meet President Juan Manuel Santos on Wednesday. Our correspondent Jose Manuel Jimenez has been following the visits and sent this report.
Ecuador's President Lenin Moreno arrived in Colombia to take part in the 6th Binational Convention. Moreno was received by María Ángela Holguín, Colombia's foreign minister, and Luis Carlos Villegas, Minister of Defense. Today they will talk about issues like the 3+2 topic. This is a mechanism created in January of 2017 to consult about the dialogue process between Colombia's government and the ELN guerrillas, taking place in Quito in the neighbor country of Ecuador. Other topics to be discussed by the representatives of both countries will be security and defense, connections and infrastructure between Ecuador and Colombia, environmental issues and borders issues, which are very important. Let's remember that both countries share a border with more than 500 kilometers of jungle, which creates a problem with drug trafficking and cocaine labs, so they will be dealing with this issue today and tomorrow. Tomorrow, the presidents will meet at 10 a.m. We'll exchange opinions about the issues already discussed by their ministers, and an hour later they will sign the agreements reached. This is all from Bogota. We go back to you.
We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this look at what our multimedia colleagues are reporting on.
Sometimes I think we have forgotten about the importance of the Monroe Doctrine and what it meant to this hemisphere in maintaining those shared values. So I think it's as relevant today as it was the day it was written.
Welcome back. With just a few days before the elections for deputies and mayors, communities and social movements in El Salvador are demanding that the Arena Party give back donations made to victims of the 2001 earthquakes.
Gathered in front of the headquarters of the Arena Party, a large group of people are protesting against the misuse of $10 million donated by Taiwan's government. People say the party used the money for its electoral campaign.
They should be ashamed if they stole that money. We still don't know how many people died without receiving anything during the earthquakes, and all because the money donated for them disappeared. The word transparency is too big for Arena. They are thieves.
Social organizations marched towards the Supreme Electoral Tribunal, asking for the disqualification of the Arena Party.
Arena is involved in severe corruption. They stole money from public funds. They arrogated it and used it to finance their campaign.
Meanwhile, preparations for elections of the next March 4th go on. The ballots to elect deputies and mayors are almost ready, and some data transmission tests have been done.
We succeeded in transmitting 90% of data, and it was done in record time, never seen before in electoral processes, because the scanners are top technology. This means that around 60,000 ballots will be transmitted in less than an hour.
International observers have arrived, like this one from the European Union, spread around the country's 14 departments.
We will focus on observing the run-up process, campaigns, elections day, and the count. We will produce a preliminary report and then a final one.
Meanwhile, political parties continue campaigning, which include visits to communities and political events. Campaigning will end on February 28th, 4 days before the election.
Members of the National Party in Honduras, led by Juan Orlando Hernandez, have accused leaders of the opposition alliance of being involved with maras, or gangs, allegedly responsible for intimidation and violence.
More than 40 have died and 100 have been imprisoned through military intervention since the election. The government believes that former candidate Salvador Nasrallah and former President José Manuel Zelaya Rosales are leading lead groups of maras.
They even kill supporters of our national party. When the party has certain mobilizations, they always try to restrict the freedom of movement.
The former presidential candidate Salvador Nasrallah responded to the allegations by asking to repeat the elections.
Those who are accused of drug trafficking are part of the National Party. The New York Tribunal has accused Juan Orlando Hernandez, his brother, family, and various lawmakers.
The public believes the situation in the country is getting worse every day. Some accuse the governing party of wanting to use a campaign to cause terror in the population.
Serious accusations are being made that deserve an explanation if this is true or not. If this is really a way to disqualify or generate fear of the opposition.
The Liberty and Refounding Party also reject the accusations of the National Party, calling it desperation.
First of all, we reject all the accusations. They are false. They are defamation from a completely desperate party, because morally it is a defeated party in Honduras. It is a fraudulent party.
The current climate of political by involvement of former President Alvaro Colom after his arrest. There have also been a series of complaints against corruption against at least 60 officials of the Hernandez administration.
In Bolivia, another explosion in the city of Oruro has killed 2 people and injured 10 others. The blast destroyed several buildings and vehicles. Oruro's governor, Victor Hugo Vasquez, says the explosion is being investigated as a criminal attack. Mounting pressure by conservative sectors linked to the church are preventing a comprehensive sexual education project from moving forward in Panama. This despite rising teenage pregnancy and STD indexes.
Pregnancy and STD statistics among teenagers in Panama continue to cause alarm and are the reason why authorities are urging the approval of a sex education law.
This law must be approved. It can't be put off any longer. The people need it, especially the young people.
Data compiled by the Health Ministry throughout 2017 shows that 9,912 young people, ranging from 10 to 19 years old, were admitted to the ministry's pregnancy control program. Despite registering about 1,000 fewer cases in 2016, the number continues to be alarming. Other official statistics show that 85% of children are born out of the wedlock, and that over 50% of STD cases are registered among the young. Regardless, the proposed law can't move forward due to pressure exerted by conservative sectors linked to the church.
Panamanian society would not only be stalled, but it would start moving backwards by losing any strides we have made. A lot of people believe this law would promote promiscuity, but they are wrong. This would promote useful education and sexual health for everyone in society.
Conservative sectors continue to exert pressure during legislative assemblies, stalling in the project under the argument that all education must be regulated by the parents.
Many parents are ignorant or lack the capacity to talk about all of the topics that need to be covered in regards to healthy sexuality. They may be unable to provide proper education.
Other sectors continue to organize to ask the government that personal beliefs are not placed above the well-being of future generations.
We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this look at what our multimedia colleagues are reporting on. Welcome back. The United Nations has called on Israel to free Palestinian teenager Ahed Tamimi from jail during her trial. UN human rights investigators say Tamimi's rights under international law are being violated. They have also demanded that the trial be held in public view. The 17-year-old has been on trial in a closed Israeli military court as the judge banned journalists from attending. Her next hearing will be held on March 11. Tamimi was arrested last December after a viral video showed her slapping and kicking two Israeli soldiers in the occupied West Bank. Her resistance to the Israeli forces has drawn international attention and is seen as a symbol of the Palestinian cause. Now let's have a look at some other stories making headlines around the world.
73-year-old Amnesty International activist Martine Landry faces trial helping refugees cross the border between France and Italy. She's accused of helping two Guinean migrants cross the border last July. She says they were unaccompanied minors who had already been on French soil before being sent back to Italy.
So, I did not help them cross the border. I look to have a more regulated situation, and I get word from children associations that recognize that they are dealing with these situations every day in France.
Zimbabwe's main opposition leader, Morgan Tsvangirai, has died in South Africa. The former Prime Minister had reportedly been suffering from colon cancer. Mr. Tsvangirai's career was marked by a long political struggle against former President Robert Mugabe, and he had been beaten and imprisoned numerous times. Hundreds of social workers have taken to the streets of Paris to protest against the deterioration of their working conditions and to decry social inequalities in their sector. Students and workers with flags and banners marched side by side and denounced the social exclusion of migrants.
In France, our social model takes into account the human dimension. The human being has always been at the heart of the apparatus, whereas today we question this human approach to put the financer at its center.
US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin has said the Trump administration is actively working on imposing sanctions on Russia. The secretary has come under repeated fire by Democrats for the administration's failure to implement an overwhelmingly bipartisan measure that gives the Treasury new authorities to impose sanctions.
At least 2 people are dead and 20 injured in a shooting at a Florida high school. Authorities say there were multiple fatalities but could not give specifics at this time. A tweet from the school board said the sound of gunfire broke out shortly before school was dismissed. Police have taken the suspected shooter in custody. U.S. President Donald Trump's personal lawyer Michael Cohen has admitted he paid an adult film star $130,000 weeks before the 2016 presidential elections. This comes after U.S. media reported the porn star was paid to keep her encounter with Trump a secret. In a statement, Cohen said the payment was made from his account and not by Donald Trump or the Trump Organization. In many countries, Valentine's Day in Spain has gone from a religious celebration to a celebration of love to a celebration of consumerism. Our correspondent in Madrid has been investigating.
Every Valentine's Day, flower markets in Madrid overflow with people looking for a gift for their partners. On average, a person will spend €100 on February 14th.
For me, it's important to give even small gifts, to show your appreciation to a friend or a partner.
I usually buy a cologne or something useful, like shoes or clothes, or getting someone something they want.
It's just another day, and we should try to give people something nice every day, even if it's just a smile.
As a way to combat the commodification of love and to deconstruct tropes such as better halves or knights in shining armor, the Ingobernable Social Center has organized a workshop called Squeezing Romantic Love.
The dynamics of capitalism are deeply rooted in private property, in competition, in individualism. This is reflected in many common ideas about romantic love.
It makes people severely frustrated because it paints a picture of love that is unrelated to reality. Frustrations come because people don't believe that they have a good relationship. They feel they have failed at a false idea of what love is meant to be.
Valentine's Day not only perpetuates these misconceptions about romantic love, but it also promotes hyperconsumerism, which continues to be unsustainable both environmentally and socially.
We are subjected to 3,000 different advertisements a day. It's a form of torture that gets in our heads and forces us to buy things without considering whether we need them or not.
Capitalism shapes most of our relationships, and Valentine's Day promotes it. This is a celebration that culturally and ideologically pushes consumerism and turns love into a currency.
And we've come to the end of this news brief. For these and many other stories, you can find them on our website at telesurtv.net/English. And join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Tell Us Your English, I'm Sweeney Gray. Thank you so much for watching.
During all this time,